Both Margaret and Rhodes were people who contributed to the community, and they never sought any attention. They're very low profile and unpretentious.
They had such an impact on so many sectors of our community. They were engaged as volunteers and as donors, and they set the example, but they did it in a very understated, quiet way.
I had the great fortune of having 18 years with my grandfather and 22 or 23 years with my grandmother. I'm the oldest of 7 grandchildren and got to know them really well and had very special bonds with both of them. They made a huge impact on my life.
The A.G. Rhodes organization that my father came into as a young man after his father, and before that was probably in a very stable place, but was not growing. Over the 50 years that my father was on that board, everything changed, and under his leadership grew it significantly over the course of the last 20 years of his life.
The Perdue family was, so far as long as I can remember, including Rhodes' wife, Margaret, were either active or behind the scenes, very instrumental in the spirit of A.G. Rhodes and being sure that A.G. Rhodes didn't deviate. I think that meant a lot.
The respect that everyone had for Rhodes and Margaret has a great deal to do with their efforts. I know I would do anything for the man. I really liked him and respected him, and he was a joy to be around. He was just a good person.
He got to where he really loved speaking to a lot of these nurses and these CNAs in the facilities, and he realized to fulfill our mission is with these CNAs. They're the hands-on people. That's hard work.
And he will always show appreciation. Even though he was chairman of the board, he was a down-to-earth person. We really miss him. He was a great man.
I had the honor of working with Margaret Perdue in the earliest days of my career. She was an extremely charismatic woman, but in a very understated way. And you knew from the first moment that you met her that she was the person that was going to have the idea, that was going to get the job done. Margaret's enthusiasm for the causes that she believed in was always so infectious, and that carried through board members and fellow volunteers and campaign cabinet members, all the way down to the entry-level staff person who was seeing her in action for the first time, and you couldn't help but be inspired by her example.
Watching my mother spend 20, 30 hours a week working in a very focused manner, but all of this being volunteer and civic work, was certainly an inspiration to all of us. We watched her do that, and do that selflessly, and do that effectively, and take a great deal of pleasure from it. I mean, really enjoy the challenge as well as the service part of it. So I think that has clearly inspired me, and I think the rest of my family also.
One of the things that I admired about Mr. Perdue was that he was always very supportive of Mrs. Perdue's interests and would always encourage her. They would make philanthropic decisions together, from my perspective, to advance things that were important to her, just as they did for things that were important to him. She and Mr. Perdue were extremely generous to anything that they chose to be a part of.
They worked very much as a team at A.G. Rhodes, and I think anybody that knew them and knew their involvement with this organization would say the same thing.
I think that my grandparents would be thrilled that A.G. Rhodes has come so far that they're able to have a luncheon like this to help better educate the community about the good work that they're doing here.